As much as video games are often best enjoyed while stopping to smell the roses at every possible opportunity, there's nothing quite like witnessing an expert player bend the game over their knee and break it down to its most basic components. The speedrunning community has grown massively in recent years thanks to sites like Twitch allowing skilled players to broadcast their brain-breakingly impressive speedruns live to their followers. And that's what we're covering today. Games that only have just come out, have just hit the shelves, and have already been beaten in embarrassingly quick fashion. So let's take a look at them. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 recent video games that got beat in record time. Number 10, Halo Infinite, 26 minutes. Though the critical path through Halo Infinite's campaign isn't that long, clocking in at around 10 to 12 hours, speedrunners have had an absolute field day using every dirty trick possible to boil a playthrough down to less than 30 minutes. At present, the world record on easy difficulty is a ludicrous 25 minutes 45 seconds, held by the runner Bareface, who also holds the world record for a legendary difficulty run of 28 minutes 59 seconds. Pulling off a tight speedrun is heavily reliant on the player's expertise in using Master Chief's much-loved new grapple shot. That's a grappling hook that allows players to propel themselves across the game's environment at great speed. Even so, knowing how to make the absolute most of the grapple shot is what truly separates the skilled from the absolutely gifted. Bareface's run, which is apparently the product of over 700 hours of work, is nothing short of mesmerizing, even as he insists there's still more time to be saved here. Also, be sure to check out IGN's hilarious video where they got some of Halo Infinite's developers to react to the previous record holder's speedrun. They are gobsmacked. Number 9, Resident Evil Village, 1 hour 22 minutes. Speedrunner Spicy TV currently holds the world record among Resident Evil Village's spirited, highly competitive speedrunning community, having beaten the game in a truly impressive 1 hour 22 minutes and 33 seconds on casual difficulty in New Game Plus. It is a run that demonstrates absolute mastery of the various gameplay systems, conserving ammo and resources for the most necessary parts, skipping every possible skippable enemy, leaping off ladders to save precious seconds, and having the various puzzles memorized beforehand. Given that most players average on around 9 to 10 hours on a first playthrough, it is a jaw-dropping performance. Though with many other speedrunners currently clipping at their heels, it's just a matter of time before he or somebody else posts a new world record. Number 8, Elden Ring, 18 minutes. Elden Ring may be the newest game on this list, but From Software fans, being the dedicated bunch that they are, of course wasted no time at all in mercilessly taking the lush action RPG apart. Though a typical critical path playthrough will take most players somewhere between 30 to 50 hours, tirelessly committed players have already managed to conquer the game in less than 20 minutes. The current world record, which could change any day now admittedly, is held by Distortion 2, who raced through the game in just 17 minutes and 43 seconds. Unsurprisingly, the fastest Elden Ring speedruns are generally achieved through exploits, namely a wrong warp where the spawn point can be manipulated to warp players much further than the game intends, which allows them to potentially skip huge parts of the campaign. Distortion 2, however, used a specific and difficult to execute glitch called the Zip, allowing him to skip massive portions of the game and take pole position in the speedrunning standings. Though From Software has since glitched the Zip out of the game, PC players have simply reverted to the previous patch in order to continue refining their runs while still benefiting from the Zip. Glorious stuff indeed. Number 7, It Takes Two, 1 hour 30 minutes. 2021's Consensus Game of the Year winner is an especially interesting game to speedrun because, per its title, it's a co-op-only game which requires the involvement of another player at all times. Given that record-breaking speedruns require perfect split-second timing from a well-trained individual, sharing that responsibility across two people obviously has huge potential for failure. And yet, the It Takes Two speedrunning community has been surprisingly lively regardless, with the current world record going to G-Lint and Good Noise, who managed to beat the game in just 1 hour 29 minutes and 35 seconds. Considering that many were surprised by the game's surprisingly beefy playtime upon release, which is about 10 to 12 hours, reducing it by a factor of 10 in tandem with another player is not to be sniffed at. Speedrunners had struggled to crack a time below 90 minutes for an entire year after the game's release, and while G-Lint insists that there remain many areas for improvement, it's still a mighty achievement. Watching the pair use out-of-bounds tricks to skip through portions of levels and expertly coordinate their timings is nothing short of incredible. Number 6, Deathloop, 16 minutes. Though Deathloop's campaign length varies pretty wildly depending on the player, getting to the end of the critical path should take around 15 hours on average, or if you're speedrunner Seeker, you know that it takes about the same time as it does to have a shower. Earlier this year, Seeker shattered the existing world record by plowing through the game in just 15 minutes and 45 seconds, using every glitch in the book to shave precious minutes and seconds off their time. This included exploits such as leaning through locked doors to bypass them and using laser mines to propel themselves to supposedly inaccessible areas. As with Halo Infinite, IGN caught up with Deathloop's developers and had them react to a previous world record holding 20-minute speedrun of the game, where they can scarcely believe what they're seeing. Number 5. Metroid Dread, 1 hour and 12 minutes. Metroid Dread was one of last year's most acclaimed games, and despite its fair level of challenge, took most players around 8 hours to beat. Speedrunners, however, have managed to whittle that time down to barely an hour. Though technically the world record to date is Maruf's run of just 1 hour 7 minutes, Maruf used glitches which were patched out of the game within weeks of its release. Without the switch allowing players to downgrade their games, it effectively meant that no future speedrunners could replicate their run without using a hacked switch, so the run is now part of the legacy wing of Metroid Dread speedruns. The real world record then goes to speedrunner Bane, who demolished the game in just 1 hour 12 minutes with a level of practice deficiency sure to make regular Dread players feel wholly inadequate. Thanks. Number 4. Hitman 3. 5 minutes. Though the sandbox-style gameplay of the Hitman games encourage players to take their time and experiment with teeing up their target's creative death, it's also a fascinating thing to watch the intricate levels be thoroughly dismantled by speedrunners. Hitman 3, while typically taking around 8 hours for the average playthrough, has been beaten in less than 5 minutes by Tupla Pecconi. This brain-exploding speedrun races through the opening Dubai mission in just 8 seconds, and excluding loading menu screens and cutscenes, wraps the whole game up in a mere 4 minutes and 55 seconds. Throughout the video, it's clear that they have memorized the precise placement of every single targeted NPC patrol path, allowing them to barrel their way through each stage in literal record time. Number 3. Death's Door, 45 minutes. The highly challenging action-adventure game Death's Door takes players around 9 to 10 hours to beat on average, but speedrunners have already gotten this down to a mere 3/4 of an hour. The current record holder is Weijo N.2, catchy name there, who managed to complete a glitched true ending run of the game's original 1.0 release in just 45 minutes and 9 seconds. They took advantage of every sneaky trick at their disposal, while also demonstrating a phenomenal knowledge of the game's movement and combat mechanics. Considering Weijo has shaved off more than 20 minutes off his time within the last 2 months, don't be shocked if he takes this much further before this year ends. Number 2. Returnal, 3 minutes and 55 seconds. Returnal's brutally difficult main story can take players well upwards of 20 hours, but as of February this year, the world record is less than 4 damn minutes. Now, to be clear, Returnal's speedruns are divided into 2 main categories. Fresh file are runs completed entirely from scratch, and New Game Plus ones, which begin after the player has completed the game and has been thrown back out into the world. In a regular playthrough, beating the last boss will take you back to the 4th biome, and this is where New Game Plus runners begin their run. New Game Plus runners have a major advantage given that their weapons and gear will also carry over, but even so, beasting through it in barely the time it takes to make a cup of coffee is absolutely gloriously absurd. Runner Cave got through the game in just 3 minutes and 55 seconds, and they move so quickly that it looks as though there's times where even the PS5's beefy SSD can barely keep up with the speed at which Cave propels themselves through the game's procedurally generated areas. And if you think that a New Game Plus run is just a little too easy, Cave also holds the world record for a fresh file run where they beat it in a stonking 42 minutes and 38 seconds. It is madness. And number 1, SIFU, 17 minutes. Much like Returnal, SIFU's runs are divided into the Fresh File and New Game Plus categories. Though beyond allowing you to keep your permanently unlocked skills, a repeat playthrough still requires a supernatural level of skill and concentration to power through. The current New Game Plus world record is held by Cranky12, who completes SIFU in just 17 minutes and 23 seconds, a run which he claims is far from perfect as he lost precious seconds on the second phase of the final boss Yang. Cranky also holds the world record for a Fresh File run at 40 minutes and 34 seconds. And so whichever run you prefer, he's clearly developed an absurd command of the game's combat mechanics alongside a near impossible degree of situational awareness. Basically, in short, incredible isn't even the word to describe it. And there we go, my friends. Those were 10 recent video games that got beaten in record time. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comment section below. As always, I've been Jules. You can go follow me over on Twitter at RetroJ with a 0, or you can swing by Live and Let's Dice, where I do all of my streaming outside of work, and it'd be great to see you over there, my friends. But before I go, I just want to say one thing. Even though you're probably going to speed off and complete a brand new game in under, like 2 minutes, let's just make sure that we're taking care of ourselves in the right way by taking time out of our busy days just to check in with ourselves mentally, all right? You deserve love, happiness, and success, and don't let anything or anyone else tell you otherwise, all right? And if things feel like they're getting a bit too much, if you can, take a step away from them, gain some perspective, speak to people about your problems, and then approach them with new energy and fresh eyes. Because trust me, staring at a problem over and over again doesn't make it any easier. Sometimes you do need to take a break, and that is more than okay. As always, I have been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.